What if the mother of the bride wasn't dying, but faking a terminal illness to steal her daughter's life and millions? At a fairy tale wedding estate, photographer Kenna uncovered a web of lies that shattered everything. How did justice unfold? You have to hear this. Thanks, Eliza, for letting me share this. It was terrifying but empowering, and I knew I had to fight back. Let me take you through how it all started with that deceptive job. I'm standing in the back of St. Margaret's Cathedral, watching 200 guests applaud as my slideshow exposes the woman who destroyed her own daughter's happiness for money. But let me back up, because you need to understand how a simple wedding photography job turned into the most satisfying moment of my career. Monday morning, I pull through the wrought iron gates of the Vance estate, and my first thought is that I've driven into a fairy tale. The mansion sprawls across manicured grounds like something from a romance novel, complete with rose gardens and a fountain that probably cost more than my car. This is exactly the kind of prestigious wedding shoot that could launch my photography business into the stratosphere. But the moment I meet Sophia Vance, something feels wrong. She's beautiful in that effortless way wealthy girls master, blonde hair in a perfect chignon, designer clothes that fit like they were sewn onto her body. But her eyes look like someone died. There's this hollow resignation that I recognize from my war journalism days, the expression people wear when they've given up fighting. "Thank you for taking the job on such short notice," she says, and her voice has this practiced politeness that makes my skin crawl. Mom's condition has been unpredictable. I'm nodding and making sympathetic noises while my photographer's eye catalogs details. The family photos lining the hallway show Sophia at various ages, but something's off about the backgrounds. Some look professionally staged, others candid, but the lighting and quality don't match the supposed timeline. It's subtle, most people wouldn't notice, but I spent years documenting conflict zones where details like this could mean life or death. "Where's your fiancé today?" I ask, setting up my equipment. Sophia's face crumples for just a second before she rebuilds that perfect composure. "David had too. He couldn't handle Mom's diagnosis. I guess I know who really loved me." The way she says it, like she's reciting lines from a script, makes every instinct I developed in Kandahar start screaming. Tuesday afternoon brings the pre-wedding family photos, and I meet Eliza Vance in all her dying mother glory. She's set up in what she calls her sick room, a sun-drenched sitting room that's been transformed into medical theater. Oxygen tank positioned just so, medications arranged on a silver tray, tissues strategically placed for maximum visual impact. Eliza herself is draped across a velvet chaise lounge like she's posing for a Renaissance painting of noble suffering. "Oh, my dear photographer," she gasps, extending a trembling hand adorned with what has to be $20,000 worth of jewelry. "Promise me these photos will show how much I sacrificed, how I gave everything for my daughter's happiness." I'm snapping away, capturing her performance, when she starts telling me about her family heirloom necklace. It's a stunning sapphire piece that supposedly belonged to her grandmother. But here's the thing, I photographed the same necklace yesterday in Sophia's room, where Eliza claimed it was her mother-in-law's engagement gift. And this morning, she told the florist it was a recent purchase to treat herself during her illness. The stories don't match at all. Eliza continues her monologue about sacrifice and maternal love while I document every angle. She's good, I'll give her that. The trembling hands, the carefully placed pauses for breath, the way she clutches Sophia's arm like she's afraid to let go. It's a masterclass in manipulation. But I've photographed real dying people. I've captured last moments and final goodbyes in war zones and refugee camps. This isn't grief, this is performance art. Wednesday evening's rehearsal dinner is held in the estate's ballroom, and I'm positioned to capture candid moments when I see something that makes my blood freeze. The caterers have set up an elaborate buffet, and I'm photographing guests mingling when Eliza makes her move toward the shrimp cocktail display. She's not using her wheelchair. She's walking with the fluid, athletic grace of someone who spends serious time at the gym. She's practically shoving other guests aside to reach the good stuff, moving like a woman half her supposed age. Then she spots me watching. The transformation is instant and terrifying. Eliner's posture crumbles, her confident stride becomes a shuffle, and she frantically looks around for her wheelchair. By the time she reaches it, she's back in character, the frail, dying mother who can barely manage to feed herself. But I saw her. I saw the real Eliner underneath the performance. In Kandahar, I learned to spot performance. This woman just forgot she was supposed to be dying. Thursday morning, I'm in Sophia's bridal suite photographing dress details when I capture something that changes everything. I'm shooting the intricate beadwork on her gown, using a silver picture frame as a reflective surface to add depth to the image, when I notice something in the background of my shot. Eliner's phone screen is perfectly reflected in the frame's surface, and she's so absorbed in whatever she's doing that she doesn't notice me adjusting my angle. The phone displays two things that make my hands shake as I hold the camera. First, a text conversation about tennis court reservations for this afternoon. Eliner is apparently playing doubles with someone named Patricia and asking about rescheduling their usual Thursday match. Second, a GoFundMe page titled Eliner's Brave Battle Against Terminal Cancer, with a running total of $47,000 in donations. The description reads, Eliner's brave battle against terminal cancer. Help us make her final days comfortable as she fights to see her only daughter married. I take 17 photos of that reflection from different angles, my war photographer training kicking in. Document everything. Verify everything. Trust nothing. The cold fury mixing with professional satisfaction feels familiar. It's the same feeling I got when I exposed corruption in overseas military contracts. My grandmother always told me that family honor meant protecting the innocent from predators. Eliner Vance is a predator. Thursday afternoon, I follow Eliner to what she claims is her rest area, a converted garden shed where she supposedly goes to meditate and gather strength. What I find through the window makes my jaw drop. Eliner is doing advanced Pilates, not gentle stretching or basic poses, full-on advanced moves that require serious core strength and flexibility. She's wearing expensive workout gear and moving like someone who's been training for years. I'm so shocked that I don't notice her spotting me until she's opening the door. Well, she says, not even pausing her stretches, I suppose we need to have a conversation. She doesn't deny anything. Instead, she walks to a small table and picks up a burner phone I hadn't noticed before. David called 47 times last week alone, she says, scrolling through voicemails with casual indifference. Poor boy even drove here twice, but my security team handled that. She hits play on one of the messages, and David's voice fills the shed. Sophie, please, I don't understand what happened. Your mom said you never wanted to see me again, but that can't be true. We were planning our life together. Please just call me back. I love you. There are dozens of them. Months of desperate messages from a man who clearly never abandoned anyone. He's been camping outside the gates, Eliner continues, like she's discussing the weather. Sleeping in his car, trying to get past security. It's really quite pathetic. The casual cruelty in her voice makes me want to vomit. Thursday evening, Eliner escalates our little war. She corners me in the main hallway, tablet in hand, and shows me something that makes my blood turn to ice. Fake reviews of my photography business, complete with photoshopped evidence of me supposedly stealing jewelry and cash from wedding clients. I've been planning this for 2 years, dear, she says, her voice honey-sweet and absolutely terrifying. Did you really think I wouldn't prepare for nosy photographers? The reviews are sophisticated, different writing styles, varied complaints, even fake photos of missing items. She's created an entire false narrative about my professional ethics that could destroy everything I've built. I've done this before, she continues, scrolling through what appears to be a folder labeled insurance policies. Other photographers, other vendors, other family members who got too curious. The internet is forever, Kenna. One click from me and your career is over. She shows me more files, evidence that she's run similar cons before, in different states, with different identities. Eliner Vance is just her latest persona. Post those photos you took, make any accusations, and I'll destroy you so completely that you'll never work again. Your choice. Thursday night, alone in my hotel room, I stare at my camera and face the hardest decision of my professional life. Elena has created a mutually assured destruction scenario. She exposes Sophia's truth, I expose hers, and we both go down in flames. It's elegant in its simplicity and absolutely terrifying in its thoroughness. I call my sister Layla in Detroit because I need to hear a voice that reminds me who I am. Kenna, she says after I explain everything, do you remember what Teta used to say about bullies? Our grandmother's words come back to me in Arabic first, then English. The worst sin is watching injustice and doing nothing. She also said, Layla continues, that bullies always think they're the smartest person in the room, but they forget that other people have families too. Other people have values too. I look at my camera equipment, thinking about all the real stories I've told over the years. The refugees who trusted me with their truth. The soldiers who let me document their reality. The families who believed I would honor their experiences. Elena picked the wrong granddaughter to intimidate. Teta always said the worst sin is watching injustice and doing nothing. Elena thinks she's playing chess, but she doesn't know I learned the game from a woman who survived wars, immigration, and decades of people underestimating her strength. Tomorrow is the wedding. Tomorrow, Elena expects to complete her 2-year con and walk away with everything. Tomorrow, she's going to learn what happens when you threaten someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. I start planning. Friday morning, 7:00 a.m., and my phone is buzzing with frantic messages from the wedding planner. Elena's condition deteriorated overnight, and the ceremony has been moved up by 3 hours. The timeline that was already tight is now impossible. I arrive at the estate to find chaos. Vendors are scrambling, guests are panicking about travel arrangements, and Elena is holding court from her wheelchair in the main foyer, oxygen mask dramatically positioned over her face. I may not have tomorrow, she announces to the wedding planner, her voice weak but carrying perfectly across the marble entryway. But I will see my daughter married today. It's a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Grown adults are crying. The florist is literally running between rooms. Even the security team looks shaken. But I'm watching Elena's hands. While everyone else focuses on her Oscar-worthy performance, I notice her thumbs moving rapidly across her phone screen. She's texting someone, and she's doing it with the quick, confident movements of someone who's definitely not dying. I adjust my telephoto lens and capture the screen reflection in the marble floor. The message thread is with someone named Patricia. Tennis match still on for 2 p.m. Doctor says I need the exercise to keep my strength up winking face. The winking emoji makes my stomach turn. Elena catches me watching and her eyes narrow slightly, but she doesn't break character. Instead, she clutches Sophia's hand tighter and whispers something that makes her daughter's face crumple with grief. The time pressure isn't about Elena's health. It's strategic. Less time for anyone to question anything. Less time for David to somehow break through her security. Less time for me to gather more evidence. Elena is accelerating toward her endgame, and she's using her fake death as a countdown timer. By 9:30 a.m., I'm in the bridal suite photographing dress details when I make a discovery that turns my blood cold. Sophia is getting fitted into what Elena calls the family tradition dress, a vintage gown that supposedly belonged to her grandmother. It's beautiful, all intricate lace and seed pearls, but something about it bothers me. While adjusting my lighting, I notice the dress bag has a side pocket I missed before. Inside are old photographs, and what I see makes my hands shake. The same dress, 3 different weddings, 3 different men. In the first photo, Elena looks about 25, radiant in the gown, standing next to a man in military dress uniform. The second shows her maybe 5 years later, same dress, different hairstyle, next to a man in an expensive business suit. The third is more recent, Elena looking closer to her current age, wearing the exact same gown, standing next to an older gentleman in front of what looks like a courthouse. Each photo has a note on the back in Elena's handwriting. The first, Mrs. Elena Morrison, 1998. The second, Mrs. Elena Chen, 2003. The third, Mrs. Elena Rodriguez, 2015. 3 different last names, 3 different husbands, same dress. I photograph everything with trembling hands, my war photographer training kicking in even as my mind reels. Alina isn't just manipulating this wedding. She's a serial marriage scammer who's been perfecting her technique for decades. Mom insisted I wear this instead of the one David and I picked out, Sophia says sadly, touching the lace sleeves. She said it would bring me the same happiness it brought her. The cruel irony makes me want to scream. This dress didn't bring Alina happiness, it brought her 3 different fortunes from 3 different families. And now she's using it to trap her own daughter in the same pattern. I'm looking at the evidence of a 20-year con game, and Sophia is the final mark. At 11:00 a.m., I find Marcus Hendricks in the estate's library, hoping the groom might be an ally in stopping this disaster. He's surrounded by papers and laptops, supposedly managing his family's failing business that Alina claims this marriage will save. But when I approach him with my concerns about Alina, his reaction isn't what I expect. She's lying about my family's finances, he says without looking up from his screen. My family isn't broke, we're actually doing quite well. I stare at him, then why? Alina convinced me this arrangement would provide excellent cover for my sexuality while appearing to be a business merger, he continues, still typing. She knows I'm gay. She knows my family would disinherit me if they found out. This marriage gives me a beard and gives her access to our money. The casual way he says it makes my head spin, but Sophia gets a husband who won't pressure her for physical intimacy, and I get to maintain my inheritance while secretly dating my boyfriend. Marcus finally looks at me, and his expression is eerily calm. We all have our secrets, Kenna. Alina just happens to be very good at managing them. He's not a victim. He's a willing participant in Alina's scheme, using Sophia just as much as Alina is. The woman I've been trying to save is surrounded by people who see her as a means to an end. What about David? I ask desperately. Marcus shrugs. Alina showed me the texts where he called off the engagement, said he couldn't handle being with someone whose mother was dying, seemed like a coward to me. But I know those texts were fake. I've heard David's real voice messages, seen his desperate attempts to reach Sophia. Marcus has been fed the same lies as everyone else, and he doesn't care enough to question them. The groom knows the bride's mother is a liar and manipulator, and he's perfectly fine with it as long as it serves his purposes. By 12:30 p.m., I'm following Alina's physician when he makes a mistake that blows the entire medical charade wide open. Dr. Harrison has been making regular house calls, providing updates on Alina's condition to visiting family members. He's the one who confirmed her terminal diagnosis, the one who suggested the timeline for the wedding, the one who gives Alina's performance medical legitimacy. I watch him leave the main house and head toward the catering tent, supposedly to check on Alina's dietary restrictions. But instead of talking to the caterers, he disappears behind the tent. I follow with my telephoto lens ready. What I capture through the gap in the tent flaps destroys any remaining doubt about Alina's con. Dr. Harrison is changing out of his medical coat and into tennis whites. His stethoscope goes into a gym bag. His serious medical demeanor disappears as he checks his phone and grins. He's not a doctor, he's Alina's tennis instructor. I watch him practice serves against the tent wall while talking on his phone. Alina's been my most dedicated student for 3 years. Best backhand I've ever coached, and she pays me more than my actual medical clients ever did. The medical equipment in Alina's room, the dramatic consultations, the carefully timed episodes. It's all been choreographed by a tennis pro who's been playing doctor for visiting family members. Alina hasn't just faked an illness. She's created an entire medical theater, complete with a fake physician who's been giving her performance credibility for months. The level of premeditation is staggering. This isn't a desperate woman making bad choices. This is a professional con artist who's been planning every detail for years. At 1:45 p.m., I'm hiding behind the rose garden when I overhear the phone call that reveals the true scope of Alina's operation. She's talking to someone, her voice bright with excitement and completely free of the weakness she's been performing all week. 20 years I've invested in this girl, Elena says, pacing with the energy of someone half her supposed age. And tonight I finally cash out. The Hendricks family fortune will set me up for life. But it gets worse. Remember when I was Margaret Chen in California? That tech family gave me $3 million before I had to disappear, and the Rodriguez oil money in Texas lasted me 5 years. Elena's laugh is chilling. But this is different. This time I've been playing the long game. I'm recording everything on my phone, my hands shaking as the full picture emerges. I married Sophia's father when she was 7, had him declared mentally incompetent within 2 years, and I've been her legal guardian ever since. She has no idea her real father is still alive in a care facility in Oregon. She thinks he died when she was 9. The cruelty is breathtaking. Elena didn't just steal from Sophia's father, she erased him from his daughter's life and has been using Sophia as an investment for over a decade. The beauty is, once she's married to Marcus, I control her inheritance through the family trust I set up. She'll never see a penny of her father's money, and the Hendricks family will think they're supporting their son's wife when they're actually funding my retirement. Elena has been playing a 20-year con game with her own daughter as the primary victim. Sophia isn't just losing her true love, she's about to lose her entire identity and inheritance to a woman who murdered her relationship with her real father. This isn't just wedding manipulation. This is systematic family destruction spanning decades. Elena ends the call and heads back toward the house, her step light and confident. She's hours away from completing the most elaborate con of her career, and she's practically skipping with anticipation. I crouch in the roses, my mind racing. The wedding is in 6 hours. Sophia trusts her completely. Marcus is a willing accomplice. The fake doctor will provide medical cover for anything Elena needs. And I'm the only person who knows the truth. The game has just changed completely. This isn't about stopping a manipulative mother anymore. It's about exposing a serial predator who's been destroying families for decades. Elena thinks she's won. She has no idea that her victory call was just recorded by someone who spent years documenting war crimes. The final battle is about to begin. Friday, 3:15 p.m. 6 hours until the ceremony, and I'm standing outside the bridal suite with printed screenshots, my hands shaking as I prepare for what might be my last chance to save Sophia. I burst through the door without knocking, evidence clutched against my chest like armor. "Sophia, please, you have to see this before." But Elena is already there, positioned perfectly beside her daughter, like she knew this moment was coming. Her oxygen mask hangs around her neck, and she's wearing the expression of a grieving mother pushed beyond her limits. "Oh, Kenna," Elena says, her voice breaking with practiced despair, "I was just telling everyone about your condition." The room goes silent. Sophia's bridesmaids, the wedding planner, even the makeup artist, they're all staring at me with a mixture of pity and concern that makes my stomach drop. "What condition?" I ask, but I already know I've walked into a trap. "Your PTSD episodes," Elena continues, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "From your war photography days. The family is very understanding about mental health struggles, especially given my own situation." She's reframed everything. My investigation, my questions, my attempts to expose her, Elena has spun it all into evidence of my own psychological breakdown. "The poor dear has been having paranoid delusions all week," Elena explains to the room, her voice trembling with concern. "Seeing conspiracies everywhere, taking photos of private moments, making wild accusations. It's textbook trauma response." I try to show Sophia the yoga photo, the one that proves Elena's been lying about her physical condition. But when I thrust the printout forward, Elena clutches her chest and staggers backward. "My heart," she gasps, one hand pressed to her chest, the other reaching for her oxygen mask. "The stress, I can't." And then she collapses. It's a masterpiece of theatrical timing. Elena hits the floor with just enough force to look real, but not enough to actually hurt herself. Her body convulses in what appears to be a seizure, complete with rolled-back eyes and shallow, gasping breaths. The room explodes into chaos. Someone screams for Dr. Harrison. The bridesmaids are crying. Sophia drops to her knees beside her mother, cradling Alina's head while tears stream down her face. "Please just leave us alone," Sophia sobs, looking up at me with pure anguish. "Can't you see you're killing her?" I'm still holding the evidence, but no one is looking at it anymore. They're all focused on Alina's performance, watching her fight for her life on the marble floor of the bridal suite. Alina's eyes flutter open for just a moment, and she looks directly at me. There's no pain in her gaze, no confusion from a medical episode. Just cold, calculating triumph. She's turned my attempt to save Sophia into the very thing that's destroying her. Friday, 3:45 p.m. I'm being escorted out of the bridal suite by 2 security guards when Alina makes her fatal mistake. "Wait," she calls weakly from the floor, still maintaining her medical emergency act. Let me speak to her." The guards hesitate. Sophia nods through her tears, and they step back but don't leave. Alina struggles to sit up, her performance of frailty so convincing that even I almost believe it. She beckons me closer with a trembling hand, and I approach reluctantly. "I need to tell you something," she whispers, just loud enough for the others to hear. "About my condition." I lean down, expecting another manipulation, another lie designed to discredit me further. Instead, Alina's hand shoots out and grabs my wrist with surprising strength. Her grip is iron-tight, the grip of someone who's been playing tennis 3 times a week for years. Her fingernails dig into my skin hard enough to leave marks. "You're just the photographer," she hisses directly into my ear, her voice dropping all pretense of weakness. "You saw nothing, you know nothing, and if you try to ruin this, I'll destroy you." The contradiction is perfect and damning. Alina is supposed to be barely conscious from her medical episode, but she's gripping my arm with enough force to cut off circulation. Her voice is strong and clear, nothing like the gasping whisper she was using moments before. But she's so focused on intimidating me that she doesn't notice the others watching. Sophia sees her mother's white knuckles around my wrist. The wedding planner notices how Alina's breathing has suddenly stabilized. Even the security guards are exchanging glances. "Mom," Sophia says uncertainly, "are you feeling better?" Alina realizes her mistake immediately. She releases my arm and collapses backward, her breathing becoming labored again. "So weak," she gasps, but the performance has lost some of its power. The adrenaline sometimes gives me temporary strength. It's a good recovery, but not perfect. I can see doubt creeping into Sophia's eyes, small cracks in the foundation of Alina's elaborate lie. Alina sees it too, and her grip on control is slipping. Friday, 4:15 p.m. I'm being physically escorted off the estate grounds when I see him. David is standing at the main gate, looking like he's been sleeping in his car for days. His clothes are wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and he's holding a manila envelope thick with papers. "Kenna," he calls out when he sees me. "Thank God, I've been trying to reach you." The security guards pause, uncertain whether to continue removing me or deal with this new situation. "I never broke up with Sophia," David says urgently, approaching with the envelope. "I have proof. Text messages, emails, even security footage from her father's care facility." My heart leaps. Care facility. Alina told Sophia her father died 10 years ago, but he's alive. He's in a memory care center in Oregon, and I've been visiting him. David's words tumble out in a rush. He told me everything about Alina, about how she had him declared incompetent, about the money she stole. The envelope contains photographs, legal documents, and what appears to be a recording device. David has been conducting his own investigation, gathering evidence from the one person Alina thought could never expose her. "We can stop this together," he says, hope blazing in his eyes. "Show Sophia the truth about her mother and her father." For a moment, I believe we might actually succeed. David's evidence combined with mine could be enough to break through Alina's web of lies. We start planning our approach, how to present everything to Sophia in a way she can't dismiss. Then Alina's medical support team arrives. They're not EMTs or hospital staff. They're private security dressed in medical uniforms, and they move with military precision. Before David and I can react, they're confiscating our phones, our evidence, even the recording device. Mrs. Vance's physician has declared this a medical emergency, the lead medic announces, "All non-essential personnel must be removed from the premises immediately." David tries to resist, shouting toward the house, "Sophie, I never stopped loving you. Your mother has been lying to you for months." But his voice doesn't carry far enough, and the security team is already dragging us both toward the gate. Our evidence disappears into their van. Our phones are powered down and confiscated. Within minutes, David and I are standing on the public road outside the estate, completely cut off from Sophia and stripped of everything we'd gathered to save her. Elena has neutralized both of us in one perfectly orchestrated move. Friday, 5:30 p.m. Through the estate's iron gates, I watch Elena stage her most elaborate performance yet. She's collapsed again, this time in the main garden where all the arriving guests can see her. The medical team has set up what appears to be emergency equipment, complete with monitors and IV bags. Elena lies on a stretcher, surrounded by weeping family members and concerned wedding guests. Her condition has deteriorated rapidly, Dr. Harrison announces to the gathered crowd. The stress of the day, combined with her terminal diagnosis, we may be looking at her final hours. The guests are devastated. Some are openly sobbing. Others are frantically making phone calls, presumably to family members who need to know that Elena might not survive the night. But Elena isn't done yet. "I need to see my daughter married," she whispers, her voice somehow carrying perfectly across the garden. "It's all I have left, all I need to let go." The wedding planner is in tears as she announces the change. The ceremony will be moved to midnight, giving Elena a few more hours while honoring her dying wish to see Sophia wed. And then comes the masterstroke. A tablet appears, passed from guest to guest, collecting emergency donations for Elena's final medical care. The GoFundMe total climbs rapidly as people contribute thousands of dollars to help a dying woman see her daughter's wedding. Elena's performance becomes more elaborate by the hour. Fake blood appears on her lips. Her breathing becomes increasingly labored. She even manages what sounds like death rattles that would make Broadway jealous. "Promise me," she gasps, gripping Sophia's hand as the sun sets behind them. "Promise me you'll say, 'I do' for Mommy. It's all I need to let go." Sophia is completely broken, sobbing over her mother's supposedly dying form, while guests continue donating money to Elena's elaborate con. From my position outside the gates, I watch Elena orchestrate the perfect finale to her 20-year scheme. She's not just stealing Sophia's happiness and inheritance, she's making the wedding guests pay for the privilege of witnessing her performance. The woman is a criminal mastermind, and she's hours away from completing the most audacious con I've ever witnessed. Friday, 11:00 p.m. 1 hour until the ceremony, and I'm sitting in my car outside the estate when the solution hits me like lightning. Elena's fatal flaw isn't her cruelty or her greed, it's her narcissism. Every con artist, every manipulator I've ever documented has the same weakness. They can't resist documenting their own victory. They need to be seen, to be remembered, to have their brilliance acknowledged. Elena has spent months building the perfect narrative of maternal sacrifice. She's created this elaborate story about a dying mother's final gift to her daughter. And narcissists like Elena can't let a story that good go untold. She's going to want a tribute, a slideshow, a moment where everyone can see and appreciate the full scope of her sacrifice. I approach the estate's service entrance, where the catering staff are making final preparations. My press credentials from my war journalism days still carry weight, and I convince the security guard that I'm documenting the brave mother's final hours for a major publication. Inside, I find Elena in her wheelchair, practically glowing with anticipation despite her supposed dying condition. She's positioned herself where she can see everything, control everything, direct her final performance. "Elena," I say, approaching carefully, "I owe you an apology." She looks up, surprised but pleased by my apparent surrender. "I've been thinking about your story," I continue, "about your sacrifice, your love for Sophia. It's actually quite beautiful." Elena's eyes brighten with interest. This is exactly what she wants to hear. "You want to be remembered as the perfect mother?" I ask. "Let me help you create a tribute that will make everyone understand your love." The bait is irresistible. Eliner's ego demands that her performance be properly documented, properly appreciated. She wants the world to see her masterpiece of maternal manipulation. "What did you have in mind?" she asks, leaning forward with barely contained excitement. "A slideshow," I say. "During the ceremony. Photos of your journey, your struggle, your sacrifice, something that will immortalize your love for Sophia." Eliner's smile is radiant and terrifying. She's already envisioning her moment of triumph, her final bow before an audience of 200 people. "Yes," she breathes. "Yes, that's perfect. Everyone should understand what real maternal love looks like." She has no idea, she's just agreed to her own exposure. The narcissist's fatal flaw. She can't resist the spotlight, even when it's about to burn her alive. Friday, 11:30 p.m. 30 minutes until the ceremony, and Eliner is practically vibrating with excitement as I set up the slideshow equipment. "I want everyone to truly understand what real maternal love looks like," she says, her eyes bright with anticipation despite her supposed dying condition. She's positioned herself in the front row, oxygen mask hanging loosely around her neck like a prop she's forgotten to use. I'm connecting my laptop to the venue's main projection system, my hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Eliner has no idea that I've spent the last hour creating a masterpiece of justice, carefully weaving my evidence between her curated photos of maternal sacrifice. "The slideshow will start right after the vows," I tell her, adjusting the projector angle. "Your tribute will be the perfect finale to Sophia's special day." Eliner can barely contain herself. She keeps checking her phone, probably calculating her final take from the GoFundMe donations and whatever access she'll gain to the Hendricks family fortune after tonight. "Make sure you include the hospital photos," she instructs, her voice stronger than it's been all week. "I want people to see how much I've suffered for my daughter's happiness." The irony is delicious. Eliner is so eager to showcase her performance that she's personally ensuring every guest will have the perfect view of her exposure. She grabs my arm with that same iron grip that betrayed her earlier and pulls me closer. "This is my moment, Kenna. 20 years of planning, and tonight I finally get everything I deserve." She has no idea how right she is. Saturday, 12:00 a.m. The midnight ceremony begins with Eliner playing her dying mother role to absolute perfection. She's been positioned in a wheelchair at the front of the cathedral, surrounded by medical equipment that's more theatrical prop than functional device. As Sophia walks down the aisle in that cursed dress, the same gown Eliner used to con 3 previous families, she pauses to kiss her mother's forehead. "I love you, Mom," Sophia whispers, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for fighting so hard to be here." Eliner's performance is flawless. She clutches Sophia's hand with trembling fingers, dabs at her eyes with tissues, and manages to look both proud and heartbroken simultaneously. The guests are openly weeping at this display of maternal devotion. I'm positioned at the back of the cathedral, my camera capturing everything while I coordinate with David through my emergency contact network. He's parked outside with backup evidence, ready to stream everything live to cloud storage the moment my signal goes out. The ceremony proceeds with traditional vows, but I can see Eliner checking her watch. She's counting down to her tribute moment, to the slideshow that she believes will cement her legacy as the perfect sacrificial mother. Marcus looks appropriately solemn as he recites his vows, playing his part in this elaborate charade. Sophia responds with words about love and commitment that ring hollow when you know the truth about everyone involved. Before we conclude, the officiant announces, the bride's mother has prepared a special tribute to share with us all. Eliner practically glows as she grabs the microphone with hands that are suddenly remarkably steady. Saturday, 12:15 a.m. Eliner's tribute begins, and she's so delighted with herself that she actually starts applauding her own slideshow. "Before we see my journey," she announces to the crowd, her voice carrying none of the weakness she's been performing, "I want everyone to know what real sacrifice looks like." The first images appear on the massive screens flanking the altar, Eliner's carefully curated photos of her illness journey. Hospital beds, medical consultations, her looking appropriately frail and brave. She's beaming as the guests murmur sympathetically. But I've masterfully interwoven my evidence throughout her narrative. The hospital photo dissolves into my long-lens shot of a leaner playing vigorous tennis at her country club, taken the same day according to the timestamp. The medical consultation image transitions to my capture of her doing advanced Pilates in the garden shed. Elena continues applauding until she realizes what's happening. Her face goes from triumphant to confused to absolutely terrified in the span of 3 seconds. "Wait," she says, frantically looking between the screens and my position at the back of the cathedral. Those aren't the right. But the slideshow continues with devastating precision. Her GoFundMe page appears on screen, showing the $47,000 in donations, immediately followed by screenshots of her tennis court reservations and luxury spa appointments. The guests' sympathetic murmurs transform into confused whispers, then shocked gasps. "Wait, is she playing tennis in this photo?" someone calls out. "Wasn't this taken last week when she was supposedly in the hospital?" Elena abandons all pretense and lunges for the projection equipment, but she's moving with the athletic grace of someone who's been training for years. The contradiction between her supposed frailty and her actual physical condition is now visible to everyone. "Turn it off," she screams, her voice strong and clear. "Turn it off right now." But the slideshow's crescendo is yet to come. Saturday, 12:20 a.m. As Elena frantically tries to explain away the evidence, David appears on the venue's main screen via video call. "Sophie," his voice echoes through the cathedral's sound system, and Sophia spins toward the screen with shock written across her face. David looks exhausted but determined, and he's holding up his phone to show a series of text messages. "I never broke up with you. I never stopped loving you. Look at these messages your mother intercepted." The screen fills with screenshots of David's real communications. Months of desperate attempts to reach Sophia, declarations of love, confusion about why she suddenly wouldn't speak to him. "I've been sleeping in my car outside these gates for 3 days, David continues, his voice breaking with emotion. "Your mother's security team kept turning me away, but I never gave up on us." Sophia's face crumbles as the truth hits her. "But Mom said you called it off, said you couldn't handle her illness." "There is no illness, Sophie," David says gently. "I've been investigating. Your mother isn't Elena Vance. She's Margaret Thorne, and she's done this to 5 other families across 3 states. The cathedral erupts in shocked murmurs as David presents documentation of Elena's previous cons. Marriage certificates under different names, photos of her wearing the same family heirloom dress at multiple weddings, even police reports from families she'd defrauded. Elena tries one last desperate play, clutching her chest and collapsing dramatically. "My heart, the stress, I'm dying." But this time, no one moves to help her. The guests have seen too much, learned too much. Her performance has lost all power. "Your real father is alive, Sophie," David says, his voice gentle but urgent. "He's in a memory care facility in Oregon. Elena had him declared incompetent and told you he died, but I've been visiting him. He talks about you every day." Saturday, 12:25 a.m. Elena's downfall is swift and brutal as 200 wedding guests become witnesses to her complete exposure. She's still trying to maintain her sick act even while being confronted with undeniable evidence, creating moments of dark comedy that would be funny if they weren't so cruel. "The tennis photos are fake," she gasps, one hand pressed to her chest while the other gestures dramatically. "Photoshopped by this disturbed photographer who's been stalking our family." But guests are pulling out their phones, recording everything, and someone has already called the police. Elena's elaborate medical theater is crumbling as people examine the equipment and realize most of it isn't even functional. "Ma'am," a guest who happens to be an actual doctor says after checking Elena's pulse, "your heart rate is completely normal. You're not having any kind of medical episode." The fake Dr. Harrison tries to slip away in the chaos, but he's cornered by angry family members demanding to know who he really is. When someone Googles his credentials, they discover he's actually a tennis instructor with no medical training whatsoever. Sophia, meanwhile, has heard enough. She looks at her mother with a mixture of heartbreak and rage that's painful to witness. 20 years, she says, her voice deadly quiet. 20 years of lies. Then she reaches behind her back, unzips the cursed wedding dress, and steps out of it completely. Standing there in her slip in front of 200 people, she looks more dignified than she has all week. "I'm going to the man who actually loves me," she announces, walking toward the screen where David waits. Eliza makes one final desperate grab for control, lunging toward Sophia with surprising speed. But her movement is so athletic, so completely at odds with her supposed condition, that even her most loyal supporters finally see the truth. Saturday, 12:30 a.m. The revelations cascade as Eliza's entire web of lies unravels in spectacular fashion. Marcus steps forward, loosening his tie with visible relief. "Thank you," he says to both Sophia and me. "Thank you for freeing me from this prison." He pulls out his phone and dials a number, his voice carrying clearly in the stunned silence of the cathedral. "Jake, it's Marcus. The wedding's off. I'm done hiding. I love you, and I want the whole world to know it." The fake Dr. Harrison, cornered and facing potential criminal charges for impersonating a physician, starts confessing everything to avoid prosecution. "She hired me 3 years ago," he admits. "Paid me more than my tennis lessons ever could. All the medical equipment is rented props. The diagnosis is completely fabricated." Eliza's security team melts away as their payment stops, revealing themselves to be hired actors who were told they were working on a reality TV show about family drama. "We thought we were filming a documentary," one of them explains to the increasingly angry crowd. She said the cameras were hidden for authenticity. Even Eliza's oxygen tank turns out to be filled with regular air, not medical oxygen. Every single element of her elaborate performance has been exposed as theater. The wedding planner is frantically trying to process refunds, while guests demand to know how much of their donations actually went to medical expenses versus Eliza's personal accounts. "The GoFundMe money," someone shouts. "Where did it all go?" Eliza, finally abandoning her sick act entirely, stands up from her wheelchair with perfect posture and faces the crowd with defiant rage. "You people have no idea what real survival looks like," she snarls. It's the first completely honest thing she said all week. Saturday, 12:40 a.m. Just when I think the night can't get more dramatic, my phone rings with a call that puts Eliza's crimes in an even larger context. "Ms. Al-Jamal?" The voice is crisp and official. "This is Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. We've been monitoring the live stream of tonight's events." I step away from the chaos, pressing the phone to my ear as Eliza continues her meltdown in the background. "Your evidence just helped us close a case we've been working for 5 years, Agent Chen continues. "Margaret Thorne, the woman you know as Eliza Vance, is part of a federal investigation into organized marriage fraud." The scope of Eliza's operation is staggering. She's not just a solo con artist, but part of a network that's defrauded dozens of families across multiple states, stealing millions of dollars through elaborate marriage and medical scams. The tennis instructor, the fake medical equipment, even some of the wedding vendors, they're all part of a sophisticated operation, Agent Chen explains. "Your documentation tonight provided the missing pieces we needed." I watch Eliza across the cathedral, still trying to manipulate the situation even as her world collapses around her. She's arguing with guests, demanding they delete their videos, threatening legal action against anyone who posts evidence of her exposure. "Federal agents are en route," Agent Chen says. "We'll need your full cooperation as a witness, but I want you to know, you just helped us shut down one of the most elaborate marriage fraud rings we've ever encountered." Eliza isn't just a narcissistic mother who manipulated one wedding. She's a career criminal who's been destroying families for decades, and tonight her entire operation finally comes crashing down. Saturday, 12:50 a.m. As federal agents lead Eliza away in handcuffs, I capture the perfect final shot that tells the entire story. Eliza is still trying to maintain some version of her sick act, hunched over and moving slowly as the agents escort her out. But through the cathedral's stained glass windows, you can see Sophia and David in the courtyard, finally having their reunion kiss after months of forced separation. The contrast is perfect. Love triumphing in the background, while deception is literally carried away in the foreground. Elena spots me taking the photo and makes one last attempt at manipulation. "You'll never work again," she hisses as she passes. "I have connections, resources." But her threats ring hollow now. She's wearing handcuffs and facing federal charges. Her network is exposed, her assets frozen, her reputation destroyed beyond repair. I keep shooting as she's loaded into the federal vehicle, documenting every moment of her final performance. Even in custody, she's still trying to play an angle, telling the agents about her medical condition and demanding special accommodations. Sophia approaches me as the chaos finally begins to settle, still wearing just her slip, but looking more radiant than she has all week. "I want to thank you," she says, her voice steady despite everything she's been through. "And I want to ask you for one more favor." She gestures toward the memory cards in my camera bag. "You captured everything tonight, the truth, the lies, the moment I finally broke free. Those photos, they're mine, aren't they? The real story of how love conquers deception." I hand her every memory card without hesitation. "Every bride deserves photos that tell the truth," I tell her. "These are yours to keep, the real story of how love conquers deception." As dawn breaks over the cathedral, I watch Sophia and David walk away together, finally free to build the life Elena tried to steal from them. Elena's elaborate con is over, her victims are liberated, and justice has been served with the kind of poetic perfection that makes this job worthwhile. Sometimes the best wedding photos aren't the posed portraits or ceremony shots. Sometimes they're the moments when truth finally breaks through years of lies, when love overcomes manipulation, and when a narcissist's carefully constructed world crumbles under the weight of their own arrogance. Elena wanted to be remembered as the perfect mother. Instead, she'll be remembered as exactly what she is, a predator who finally met someone who refused to look away. Eliza, some stories choose you instead of the other way around. This one taught me that my grandmother was right. The worst sin is watching injustice and doing nothing. Sometimes the most important photos you take aren't the ones that make you money. They're the ones that make sure the truth can never be buried again. And that's a picture worth 1,000 words.
Kenna, your bravery in exposing that con artist is truly remarkable. This story teaches us that confronting deep-rooted family deception can reclaim stolen lives and restore truth, echoing the universal fight against injustice. It's a powerful reminder that standing up changes everything. I'm Eliza Quinn, and remember, here on Wedding Day Justice, veils off, justice on.